Hey folks, Anthony Skinner here with the new series, The Enneagram and Team Building. Now, the topic of team building is really more important than ever before, as we've discussed, especially since so many of us are working remotely, which adds a layer of complexity to teamwork. But before we go any further, of course, we want to introduce the host of this show, Ian Morgan Cron. Ian, what are you excited about these days?
Wow. Well, just yesterday, I had a meeting with Enneagram Three, Michael Hyatt, who we've had on the show before, to discuss how we can up our game in terms of our developing business. And I was reminded, where would we be without threes? Like he gave me so much wisdom and insight that I couldn't possibly generate on my own. So yay for Enneagram threes like Michael Hyatt.
That's good. Well, I'm excited that we have this new series to offer our people, the Enneagram and team building. And before we go any further, why don't you give us a good definition of the word team?
Yeah. So a team is a group of people with complementary skills who are committed to a common purpose for which they hold themselves accountable. Now, I found that concise definition and I thought, well, I just want to add something.
Mm-hmm.
So my version is a team is a group of people with complementary skills and diverse personalities who are committed to a common purpose for which they hold themselves accountable.
That's good.
Yeah. I once heard a psychology professor and consultant say something that absolutely blew my mind. He said, every team in the workplace has problems, and the majority of those problems are personality problems.
Wow, that's a powerful statement.
Yeah, it sure is. And in my experience as an Enneagram teacher, as a corporate consultant, I believe the knowledge and application of the Enneagram can dramatically lessen personality problems and build stronger, healthier teams. No question.
Well, I know you've come back from several engagements where you've been consulting corporations. Why don't you tell us what happens when leaders and teams introduce and integrate the Enneagram on their teams?
Well, that's a tough question because it could be a long list, but it increases motivation. It improves communication. It promotes cooperation. It reduces conflicts. It prevents misunderstandings. It elevates empathy. And it ensures people feel seen, heard, and valued for their contribution to the team's overall success.
Such a powerful tool. So in this series, we're going to answer the question, what do I need to know and do in order to effectively lead or work alongside each of the 9 Enneagram types? And today we are on, as you mentioned earlier with Michael Hyatt, the
performers, Enneagram threes.
The number 3 is the performers. Tell us a little bit about them.
Yeah, man. So as I've mentioned before, it's so important for each of us to know and understand the unconscious motivation that drives the way that type acts, thinks, and feels on a day-to-day basis, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a 3 on your team, you have to remember that they are motivated by a need to succeed or to appear successful and avoid failure at all costs.
Mm. So what can 3s and their leaders and their team members do to help optimize the 3's performance?
Yeah. Well, let's start with what happens when you have a 3 on your team who lacks self-awareness.
Mm.
So 3 see a world in which people only value others for what they do or accomplish, not for who they are inside. So to win love and admiration, 3s will project an inauthentic image to impress the team or the boss or the customer. But when 3s on your team are self-aware, they no longer feel terrified of failure, and they share openly about what they've learned from their mistakes. They become people who are genuinely authentic.
Can you tell us a little bit more about mature 3s?
Yeah, so mature threes really no longer have anything to prove, right? They're okay not being the star or the guy driving the bus, right? They become less focused on solely pursuing their own success and more focused on making the team as a whole successful.
Yes, I've been with Michael Hyatt in the team meetings, and he really does elevate those around him. I love how a healthy three can do that. So
Mm,
let's give tips on how to help threes become great team members and leaders. Will you take us through three of them?
sure. The first would be communicate efficiently. So threes on teams hate wasting time. So you need to be quick and to the point. Like, don't drag meetings out or engage in too much small talk or, expect too much attention from threes when you want to talk about personal problems, right? Because they got stuff to do and we need to let them do it.
That's good. I like that. So number two.
You need to set performance targets for threes.
Hmm,
Productivity, efficiency, making lists of goals and accomplishing things. These are what threes care about and do better than anyone else. So if you have a three on your team, you should offer rewards and bonuses and promises of advancement for meeting those goals because that's what lights them up.
that's good. Tip number three.
Okay, this is both a positive and a negative, okay?
Okay.
No cutting corners. Um, threes are pragmatic to a fault. So threes on the team always want to get to the finish line of a project as quickly as possible. So they might cut corners for the sake of a quick win, which can hurt the quality of their work sometimes.
Hmm,
So I love the fact that threes want to cross the finish line first. That's the good thing, right?
right.
But you don't want to let them cut corners for the sake of getting things done fast.
Oh, that's good. So communicate efficiently, set performance targets, and
Mhm.
no cutting corners. How about a closing thought for this episode?
Yeah, so I recently read Walter Isaacson's biography of Steve Jobs. And here's a great quote from Steve Jobs. If you really look closely, most overnight successes took a long time. And
That's
I
good.
think I, I think that's so great for threes to remember, right?
Right.
Most overnight successes take a long time, right?
Yeah,
Pace yourself, don't cut corners, just move like a steady eddy.
that's good. That's a great word to go out on. We really appreciate you threes, and watch for our next episode with Enneagram and team building. Until then,
See you later.
see ya.